We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump denounces Zelenskyy as a dictator. Zelenskyy hopes talks with visiting US envoy Kate Kellogg will be constructive. A sad day ahead for Israel as it prepares to receive bodies of youngest Gaza hostages. Hamas agrees to release all remaining hostages in single swap during next phase. First-time MLA Rekha Gupta to script history as she takes oath as Chief Minister as Delhi's tryst with a woman at helm continues today. India to face Bangladesh in Dubai as Men in Blue begin Champions Trophy campaign. Holders Pakistan stare at ignominious exit after loss to New Zealand in opening time. On to the details now. US President Donald Trump denounced Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy as a dictator on Wednesday. Trump wrote on social media, truth, and I quote, "A dictator without elections. Zelenskyy better move fast or he's not going to have a country left." Trump also warned Zelenskyy that he had to move quickly to secure peace or risk losing his country, deepening a feud between the two leaders that has alarmed European officials. Trump doubled down on his criticism of the Ukrainian president, saying that has done a terrible job and could have come to talks with Russia and Saudi Arabia if he had wanted to.
Never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelenskyy probably maybe he wants to keep the gravy train going. I don't know what's the problem, but he hasn't been able. He's very upset that he wasn't invited. He could have come if he wanted to, but that he wasn't invited to Saudi Arabia.
In response, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said no one could force his country to give in. Taking to microblogging site X, Sybiha wrote, and I quote, "We will defend our right to exist." Well, France hosted the second meeting to discuss Ukraine and European security on Wednesday with leaders of 19 countries, including Canada, with most taking part by video link. At the meeting, the leaders agreed that Ukraine's rights and European security concerns should be taken into account in any deal to end the Ukraine conflict. They stressed on carrying out all the responsibilities to ensure peace and security in Europe. They said robust and credible guarantees were needed to ensure a lasting deal, and European security concerns would need to be taken into account. Greek Prime Minister on his part said Europe needs to wake up from the geopolitical and economic lethargy into which it has unfortunately fallen for some time.
Unfortunately, recent developments and the different view of things from the United States now oblige us not only to face the truth, but to move at a very high speed and implement decisions that we have been discussing for a long time. Whether we are talking about the establishment of a defense policy that will allow Europe to project different power itself without being permanently, completely dependent on the United States, a crucial issue for our country.
Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit Washington next week amid other meetings aimed at bringing an end to Russia's war in Ukraine. Ahead of which, U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz has said that Washington is engaging with all sides, and then the next step is putting technical teams forward to start talking more details. And French Prime Minister François Bayrou survived a sixth no-confidence vote since taking office on December 13 last year, after lawmakers in the National Assembly rejected a motion from the Socialists. The no-confidence vote, initiated by the Socialist Party, received only 181 votes in the French National Assembly, far below the 289 needed to unseat Bayrou. The PS launched the no-confidence vote on Monday in protest against Bayrou's use of the term migratory submersion. The left-wing party accused him of accelerating France's political and moral decline. The far-right party National Rally had previously announced that it would not support the no-confidence vote. A majority of MPs from the socialist group PS leave the chamber in the French National Assembly during a debate on the motion of censure that they themselves had tabled. And Israel is bracing on Thursday for the return of the bodies of the two youngest captives taken by Hamas in their October 7, 2023 attack. 4 bodies that are set to be returned to Israel include Oded Lishsez, a journalist and a peace activist, and Shiri Bibas and her 2 children, Ariel and Kafir Bibas. Infant brothers are among the most potent symbols of the trauma inflicted that day. Kafir Bibas was 8.5 months old when he was kidnapped by Hamas. Oded Lifshitz and his wife Yochevz Lifshitz were among the founders of Nir Oz Kibbutz and were peace activists who regularly transported patients from Gaza to receive medical treatment in hospitals across Israel. Both were taken captive on October 7th, and Yocheved was released in November 2023. The handover will be the first return of dead bodies during the current agreement, and Israel is not expected to confirm their identities until full DNA checks have been completed. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Thursday would be a very difficult day for the state of Israel.
A very difficult day for the state of Israel, a shocking day, a day of grief. We are bringing home 4 of our favorite hostages, fallen hostages. We hug the families, and the heart of an entire nation is torn. My heart is torn, yours too. And the heart of the whole world needs to break, because here we see who we are dealing with, what we are dealing with, what monsters. We are grieving, we are in pain, but we are also determined to ensure that something like this does not happen again.
Well, Thursday's handover of bodies will be followed by the return of 6 living hostages on Saturday in exchange for hundreds more Palestinians. The 6 alive hostages are Elia Cohen, 27, Tal Shohem, 40, Omer Shem Tov, 22, Omer Venkert, 23. Negotiations for a second phase expected to cover the return of around 60 remaining hostages, less than half of whom are believed to be alive, and a full withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip to allow an end to the conflict are expected to begin in the coming days. So far, 19 Israeli hostages have been returned in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees. The hostages were taken in the Hamas-led cross-border attack on October 7, 2023, which killed about 1,200 people in southern Israel. And U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered a review of the department's 2026 budget so as to reallocate $50 billion in funds. This comes following reports that he had directed deep multi-year cuts to military spending. Reportedly, Hegseth directed senior Defense Department leaders to plan for cuts that could slash the defense budget by 8% annually, or some to $90 billion within the next 5 years. The Pentagon has described this as an effort aimed at removing funding from programs favored by former President Joe Biden and using it on those advocated by his successor, Donald Trump. Well, the U.S. government on Wednesday moved to kill New York's congestion pricing scheme designed to reduce traffic and finance public transport by imposing tolls on drivers in Manhattan. A first-in-the-nation plan President Donald Trump had vowed to quash. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sian Duffy said the move will halt the program that charges most drivers $9 to enter much of Manhattan and began on January 5th to provide support for the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said that the state was ready to fight the move by the Trump administration.
Here to say, New York hasn't labored under a king in over 250 years. And we sure as hell are not going to start now. The streets of this city where battles were fought, we stood up to a king. And we won then. And we will, in case you don't know, New Yorkers, we're in a fight. We do not back down, not now, not ever.
Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority on Wednesday sued the Trump administration over its bid to kill congestion pricing program. In its statement, the authority said that the decision is for blatantly political reasons to uphold a campaign promise of President Donald Trump. Well, many commuters to New York City have welcomed Trump's decision, saying that it will be easy on their pockets.
It's a catch-22, right? Because then you're stuck with traffic, but it's easier on your pocket.
It's not. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing?
How come? Yeah. It's charging me too much money on my Easy Pass.
That is going to attract the passenger to come in, knowing that the taxes are not going to be more than the fare.
Well, the United States has designated 8 Latin American criminal and drug trafficking groups as global terrorist organizations as part of its efforts to stop the arrival of the synthetic opioid fentanyl in his country. According to the Federal Register notice, United States designated Tren de Aragua, the Sinaloa cartel and other drug cartels as global terrorist organizations, a move that comes as President Donald Trump steps up immigration enforcement against alleged gang members in the U.S. The notice issued by Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the groups pose a risk to U.S. national security, foreign policy and economic interest. After taking office on January 20th, Trump issued an executive order that called on officials to evaluate whether criminal cartels or transnational gangs should be designated as terrorist groups. Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said that U.S. drone flights over Mexican territory were part of a collaboration with the U.S. government, adding that there was nothing illegal about it. A U.S. official said the drone flights are by agreement with the Mexican government and the aircraft are unarmed. The official said their mission is to pinpoint fentanyl labs. Her comments came amid tense relations after U.S. President Donald Trump pledged to designate Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations. Well, South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol will today attend the first hearing of his criminal trial over insurrection charges at the Seoul Central District Court. The court will also hold a hearing to review the legality of Yoon's detention as requested by his lawyers earlier this month. Prosecutors last month indicted Yoon after accusing him of leading an insurrection with his short-lived imposition of martial law on December 3. The charges are unprecedented for a sitting South Korean president, and if convicted, Yoon could face years in prison for his shock martial law decree. And still to come in this edition of DT India Live. South Africa takes G20 presidency amid global spotlight, but U.S. absence clouds future. Amit Shah to address Unity Utsav, celebrating Northeast India's culture and sportsmanship in Delhi. And India's Shubman Gill has taken over Pakistan's Babar Azam in the latest ODI rankings released by ICC.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, a historic moment for South Africa as it takes over the G20 presidency, a platform that represents 85% of the global GDP and two-thirds of the world's population. But with the US absent, citing concerns over South Africa's expropriation of private property, the road ahead is anything but smooth. Tripti Tripathi reports for more.
We have a responsibility to do better. It is with this hope that I pass the mallet of the presidency of the G20 to President Ramaphosa.
Thank you.
South Africa's G20 presidency was expected to bring a renewed focus on the challenges faced by poorer nations. But with Washington choosing to skip the summit, citing policy concerns, political experts believe this could undermine South Africa's leadership.
The Trump administration are doing is to throw South Africa's presidency of the G20 into a tailspin. They also may want to get American companies and American investors to boycott this conference.
Despite the challenges, South Africa is moving forward, focusing on solidarity, equality, and sustainability. As the first foreign ministers' meeting approaches, leaders will discuss ways to bridge inequalities. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will represent India at this summit. The key priorities for South Africa's G20 agenda includes strengthening disaster resilience, scaling up post-disaster reconstruction, ensuring debt sustainability for low-income countries, expanding debt relief measures, mobilizing finance for energy transition, securing climate finance agreements, and harnessing critical minerals for inclusive growth. President Cyril Ramaphosa remains committed to making development finance accessible, adapting to climate change, and amplifying the voice of the Global South in the world's most influential economic forum. With global economies facing multiple crises, South Africa's leadership will be tested. But the success of its G20 presidency could reshape global financial priorities for developing nations. Tripti Tripathi reporting for DD India.
Well, Delhi's wait for its new chief minister ended on Wednesday night with the BJP naming Rekha Gupta for the top post. Rekha Gupta, who will be Delhi's fourth women chief minister, will take oath on Thursday at the historic Ramleela ground. Rekha Gupta won the Shalimar Bagh seat against AAP's Bandana Kumari and Congress's Parveen Kumar Jain. She began a political career with the ABVP student wing. In the late 1990s, she also served as the president of the Delhi University Students' Union. Well, Gupta has held key positions in the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha, serving as the Delhi unit secretary and later as the national secretary. The official announcement was made at a BJP legislator party meeting in Delhi on Wednesday, setting the stage for a new leadership. The BJP swept the February 5th assembly elections, winning 48 out of 70 seats and ousting the Aam Aadmi Party. Many union ministers and chief ministers have congratulated Rekha Gupta on becoming the chief minister. And India's Home Minister Amit Shah will address the Unity Utsav, a glimpse of the rich cultural heritage of the Northeast in the national capital. Assam Rifles, in collaboration with the Northeast Association Social Welfare, is organizing Unity Utsav, celebrating the sportsmanship and cultural heritage of Northeast India. Under the theme One Voice, One Nation, the 5-day event concludes in Delhi today. Unity Utsav brings together over 1,000 students from all 8 northeastern states, showcasing their talent and fostering a spirit of unity and national pride. And more in sports, the clinical New Zealand outplayed Pakistan by 60 runs in the opening game of the much-awaited Champions Trophy 2025 in Karachi on Wednesday. Centuries each from Tom Latham and Will Young alongside a fiery 50 from Glenn Phillips steered New Zealand to 320 for 5 in 50 overs. Pakistan skipper Mohammad Rizwan won the toss and opted to bowl. The decision seemed right as the host reduced the Black Caps to 73 for 3 at one stage, but a 118-run partnership between Young and Latham turned the tide in New Zealand's favour. For Pakistan, Naseem Shah was the most successful bowler with figures of 2 for 63. Pakistan struggled in the chase due to their slow start of 22 for 2 in 10 overs. Khushdal Shah and Salman Agha scored a quick-fire 69 and 42, but it wasn't enough for the home team. And Rohit Sharma and his men are set to begin their quest for a second successive ICC trophy as India will start their Champions Trophy campaign against Bangladesh at the Dubai International Stadium. It'll be their second meeting in the history of the tournament and the first meeting between the two since October 2023 in the ODI World Cup. India heads into the tournament having played just 2 ODI series 6 months apart. They suffered a 0-2 loss against Sri Lanka in July last year. However, they beat England earlier this month at home, securing a 3-0 clean sweep. On the other hand, Bangladesh have played 9 ODI games since 2024, winning just 3 of them. The two countries have faced each other 41 times in 50-over format, and India holds an overwhelming 32 for 8 advantage. And in the latest ODI rankings released by ICC, India's Shubman Gill has taken over Pakistan's Babar Azam ahead of the 2025 Champions Trophy. Gill reclaimed the top spot after an excellent home campaign against England earlier this month. His tally of 259 runs in 3 innings with an average of 86.33 was the best by an Indian batter in the contest. This was the second time Gill claimed the top ranking in his career, previously during the ODI World Cup in 2023. Sri Lanka spinner Thikshana climbed to the top of the ICC men's ODI bowling rankings for the first time as he passed Afghanistan tweaker Rashid Khan. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.